Hello again. Back another week. Another week has flown past, and I hope you're all keeping well. As I think of that, as I say that to you, this week has been a strange week in Cookstown because of this virus. Different places has had to close down. Different people are getting affected with it, and it seems to be spreading around Cookstown this week. People are somewhat afraid of it. Some people really don't care and are maybe doing things that they shouldn't be doing, but a lot of people with some common sense has fear about them. Afraid of getting it, afraid of carrying it to their older people, and different things. But what do you do concerning your fear? Do you just live in fear, or do you do something about it, or who do you tell about it? My heart was drawn to a psalm this week, Psalm 5. And I put on my glasses to read it. I'll read a part of it till you. And this is about David, and he is speaking to God. And this is what David says to God: "Give ear to my words, O Lord. Consider my meditation. Hearken unto the voice of my cry, my King and my God. For unto thee will I pray. My voice shalt thou hear in the morning, O Lord. In the morning will I direct my prayers unto thee, and will look up." You can live in fear, or you can turn to prayers that you've been taught many years ago. You've been brought up with learnt prayers, and you maybe have been brought up to bow before a statue and pray, or you've maybe been brought up and taught to hold beads and pray. Different people have been taught different ways of prayer, and some people have been taught prayers out of common prayer book, so they'll turn to that and find a prayer and read it off, or maybe have learnt it off in your heart. But in your time of fear, do you want to be sitting in front of a statue, or depending on something that you hold in your hand, or something that you've been taught out of a book to get you through your hard time? If you listen to this of David again, he just gets down before God and he says, "Give ear to my words." He's not saying about holding anything or anything that he has learnt in his past. He's talking directly to God. Give ear to my words, O Lord. He comes before God with a respect about him, a respect for God. And he says, "O Lord, consider my meditation." He doesn't come before God with an attitude expecting God to do something, or taking a hump, as they say it is in these days, because God hasn't worked or done something that doesn't please you. But he comes with that attitude of a caring heart, a loving heart, a heart that we should have had when we had come to our own earthly Father and asked him for something. He says, "O Lord, consider my meditation. Hearken unto the voice of my cry." David was saying here that he was crying unto God. There was a situation that he needed to ask God for help in, and he's asking God to just hearken, meaning to listen. Listen unto the voice of my cry. And then he refers to God as my King and my God. He still asks with respect. For thee will I pray. For unto thee will I pray. He's not praying unto anything else. He's not depending on idols or things that he's been taught. He's just praying directly to God. My voice shalt thou hear in the morning. When he comes up from his bed, he has these thoughts in his head. And before the day takes over and before other things cloud your mind, David was asking God in the morning to guide him through the day, to help him with whatever situations that he found himself in. Whatever fear he would have had, he was bringing them to God in the morning before other things would take over. O Lord, in the morning will I direct my prayers unto thee, and will look up. Now I believe as David would have brought his petitions to God, and he talks then about looking up, as he would have got up from that place of prayer, he would have risen a way that he knew he took the problems to someone that really cared, and he could leave them there. And I believe this looking up was like that. And can you be like that in this day, even in Cookstown or round about wherever you listen to this little video? The fear that you have, do you go for beads and hold them and say the prayers that are connected with them? Or do you bow down before some idol that you have or statue and pray unto it or to them as you think and expect something to happen? But do you rise from them places with your fear being dealt with? No, this is a strange day that we're living in, and we need to get real concerning the things of God. Now, we have been taught many things over our lifetime, religious things, things that are supposedly holy and godly, but they're not necessarily what God would tell us to do in the Bible. And here's one example that David's showing us here. He's just going directly to God. He's bypassing all the things that maybe he had been taught or learnt, and he's just saying to God, give ear to my words, O Lord. Consider my meditation, or consider my prayers to thee. And you know, that's what David was doing. And if we go to verse 6 in the chapter before that, and it says, there be many that say, who will show us any good? What does that tell you in this day and age that we live in? Now, if you put on the television, if you use the internet, there's nobody out there in the news that's telling us any good news. It's all bad. Cookstown would sound like an awful place to live in just at the moment because of this virus. And yet, the fear is rising in people's hearts to an extent where people are maybe thinking of doing things that they shouldn't be doing. Fear can drive you into a corner where you'd be better not being in. And this is what this little video is just about. It's a short little video to say unto you, to talk directly to God in the midst of your fear. If you rise in the morning and you're afraid because some of these people now that live in Cookstown can't go to their work because their workplace has been closed, what do? Do you rise in the morning and get up and think, I'll make no money this week, or I'll get no wages, or now have no job to go to, and you get all worked up about it? Or do you just get down again before God and say, Lord, give ear to my words, will you hear my prayers? I am scared for my family. I need my income to pay the bills and feed my family. Would you hear and answer my prayer? Will you help us through this? And would you even take away this fear that I have in my heart and my head concerning everything that surrounds this virus? Would you speak to that? Speak like that to God. You don't have to go through prayers that you learn, because what learned prayer is going to help you today and the situation that this virus brings us all into. Would you talk directly to God and ask Him to hear your prayer? You know, that's what I do concerning my family, concerning my own well-being. I just ask God to keep the fear away from me and to help me through my day, that I would live according to His plan and His will, and that I would do what He would have set out for me to do. You know, that takes away a lot of fear, Because if you leave your life in the hands of God, the God of creation, the God of heaven, God created all mankind, and He created you. So therefore you can go to Him. Why go through other channels, as it were, as some people do, to try and reach God? God doesn't tell anybody to go that way. He says to speak unto Him. Will you speak unto Him? Let this be a day in the midst of the fear of life that you can lose that fear. Leave it with God. But don't depend on things that you have been taught from whatever side of the house you come from, as we say it in this part of the world. Wherever you go on a Sunday, though them things don't really matter because we can't really go to them places. And it's solely between you and God. And it's the same thing when your time will come, when you're lying on your deathbed and you're going to depend on some man to come and make things right between you and God. Why not make them right now, when God says today is the day of salvation? He that comes unto me I will in no ways cast out. Why would Jesus say that if He didn't want you to call on Him? Let this be the day in the midst of your fear, in the midst of your turmoil, that you will turn to God and go directly to Him. And just as David prayed, just ask God to hear your prayer, and let Him help you through the day. Let that be a start to your day. I hope this little thought really goes into your heart and brings a peace that only God can bring. Ask Him to give you the peace that you need in the midst of rearing your family and the crisis and in the day and age that we live in. I hope this is a blessing to you and an encouragement. God bless. Amen.